We are here at the Criterium de Dauphine, and behind me is the Total Energies truck with some very interesting things in the back of it. Well, we've got a new Cube road bike. And I say it's a new Cube road bike. Via the branding, this is most definitely a Lightning series bike, probably the new aero flagship race bike from them. But we've been told that this is most definitely a prototype. So the bike that you're seeing here might just be a little bit different from the ones that we see come into the shops at some point, I would assume, this year. There are a few really interesting things about this bike, but I want to start with the most interesting for you and me, and that is the price. Cube has been doing really, really well lately, delivering bikes to the riders that don't actually cost too much. These are still expensive machines, don't get me wrong, especially the one behind us. That's going to have Dura-Ace. It's got the highest end Newman wheels. So that's going to still cost up there. It's going to be one of the cheaper Tour de France bikes, but the reason that I really love it, and I know a lot of you lot love it, is because the prices of the lower end bikes, your 105 Di2s, your Ultegras, your Forces, those kind of level bikes are actually relatively attainable. They're still going to cost you a lot of money, but they are more attainable than the equivalent S-Works or Specialized or Trek, you know, all of those bikes. We don't know how Cube is actually doing it. A lot of the people that we've spoken to within the industry, within the bike brands, don't know how they're actually doing their pricing. It's certainly a very aggressive pricing strategy, but that's no good if the bike doesn't actually back it up. So what do we have here?
One of the main things about the new bike is a much, much deeper fork leg. It's clear to me that Cube has paid quite a lot of attention to the front end of the bike, because along with that deeper fork leg, you have a more angular design behind the fork crown. Now, maybe that is to just tidy up the messy airflow off of the top of the front wheel, because a lot of brands tell us that that is a significant issue when it comes to bicycle aerodynamics. It's a similar story at the upper part of the head tube, where you get a much more angular design. Now, whether Cube has actually thinned down the center of the head tube, I can't really tell. We'll have to wait and see. And there's more change at the front end. The cockpit features much deeper tops with a much less angular stem section. Now, this design actually looks really, really tidy for me, but will it add too much front end stiffness to a bike that was actually quite comfortable to ride? This is a problem that I think that Van Riesel's RCR-F suffered. The front end, for me, is just too stiff, and one of the issues there is that new bar. While we're on the subject of bars, we had Verscher's bike, and I measured his bars at 37 centimeters wide at the shifters. Now, I don't think that the team wanted me to do that necessarily, but I'm very sneaky with a tape measure. That down tube looks deeper to me. The Cube branding is large, and it's a bit of a telltale because look at the additional space around it when you compare it to the old bike. There's loads. The seat stays are still deep, though there has been a change here. They are probably still there for just aerodynamics and stiffness, but they seem to have had a comfort upgrade because they now seem to be just a little bit dropped. They now flow into the seat tube just a little bit lower, and to me, that design looks a lot cleaner. The seat tube itself still hugs the rear wheel, though it doesn't rise above the seat stays as it did before. That wasn't my favourite design, I have to say, but there is still a lot of angularity here, if angularity is a word, because it drops away at the seat post junction, presumably for comfort, because if you extend more of the seat post, you get a bit more deflection. One of the surprises for me is the lack of aero bottles. They seem like they would be a relatively easy thing to design, and quite frankly, they seem to make a massive difference. Just look at the Trek Madone.
Looking down the front end of the bike, I could also see something very interesting. And Cube is not going for a massive, big tyre clearance figure on this bike. These are 28mm tyres fitted to the Newman wheels. and they seem to fill out quite a bit of the frame. So there's not going to be a huge amount of space to go much wider. So maybe Cube is thinking 30, maybe 32 at the top end is plenty for their riders and plenty for us if we're going to buy this bike. I really like this. I really like the Cube line actually, because they do have two separate bikes. They've got the Lightning Aero, which I think this is going to be, but they've also got that Lightning Air, which is the climbing bike. It's kind of aero, optimized for climbing, yada, yada. I like that you've got two options. I really, really do. Because, you know, some riders, they're not going to go into these mountains that we have behind us. They're generally going to stick to the flatter lands. And that's where an aero bike really, really does matter. Another chunky piece of kit is that bottom bracket shell. That has a real flat profile either side of the BB that extends quite a way far back and then flows into the chainstays. Bye-bye. Cycling news, Kevin, ruined my day, honestly. The rear of the bike is also notable because it seems like Cube is sticking with a little bit of the design language that we saw with the old Lightning Aero bike. There's kind of a shape to the seat tube that juts back from where the seat post enters it. It'd be a bit divisive if I'm honest. It's not my favorite shape, but if it's gonna be doing aero goodness, then that's fine by me. But also they have, I think, improved it over the old design. That really, really wasn't my favorite thing. What does look like it will provide a little bit of comfort though is the seat post. It looks like they've built in a little bit of comfort just there, which to me is actually a very, very good thing, because if you're hammering this over some broken roads, you're not going to want it to go battering you from below. Seat post flexion is really important. It matters more than you actually think. In terms of the team's bike, it's really one of those sorted designs, and I actually really, really like it. The Newman wheels are very, very clever. They kind of hide the valves inside the rim. You do need a special tool to do your inflation, but you might save a watt or two. So, you know, if you're really chasing those watts, then they are quite cool. They've also got deep carbon spokes. They've got massive silver graphics. I think they look fantastic. I really do like the look of it. Couple that with the Dura-Ace general build. They've got the 12-speed Di2 disc. It's relatively long in the tooth now, but it's a group set that works really, really well. They've got the power meter from it, and to that, they've attached the carbon tie chainrings. Again, absolute bling. Love it for a pro bike. Would I want it on my bike? My bank account says no. And then the tyres are the very, very trusty Continental GP5000s. I would assume that the team is going to be using a mix of the 5000 TLs and maybe the 5000 TT tyres for faster days. But for now, they seem to have most of the bikes over there anyway, set up with the standard version of those tyres. Topping out the bike is a trusty Cellitalia saddle, and from what I can see of the team bikes behind there, they won't let us film them. They do have a broad range of kind of saddle types. The one that we've seen, carbon kind of affair, 3D printed upper, really, really nice, jazzy kind of thing. And for that rider, it's comfy. For you and I, it might be an absolute nightmare. So that is the bike. It's really nice to see something new from Cube. Again, this could be one of the cheapest Tour de France bikes in the peloton. Really hope it is, because that would be great for you and I, because the lower models would be affordable. If you want to see another video featuring a lovely Cube, why don't you just click up here? Because Jamie rode that all the way to France, but not as far in France as this. I am off for a beer because I'm an Englishman and it's sunny. It's like 26 degrees and I do like the heat, but whew, I'm off.